now I want to get into the pricing lab, which is probably the reason why a lot of you are here, really talking about how do we price out those two programs we talked about last week. So how do we price out our Essentials program? And then I'll follow that up with how do we price out our Advanced program. So just a reminder of what our Essentials program looks like. Again, if you missed last week's boot camp, I do have the security matrix there that I went over that you can download from the handout section. Basically, the Essentials program, because I don't agree with the good, better, best philosophy. I don't agree with the precious metals, the bronze, silver, gold. I think you should have a minimum viable program, which I would say would be your good program. And these are aimed for your less risky customers that are not regulated. So, but this still has all the appropriate technologies, processes in place to protect them when we look at our layered security diagram. And then the advanced program is what I consider to be the best program. And that would be the program that you would automatically offer to any organization that is part of a regulated industry and has compliance standards to adhere to. So that's kind of really the dividing point between both programs. If you are in a regulated industry, Mr. Customer, you have to be in this program. If you are in a non-regulated industry, or maybe you're an MSP that still has a lot of time material customers, break fix, or you still are selling kind of a la carte, so you have some backup clients, or you have some, AV clients, and you want to get them into a standardized program, then this Essential program would be kind of that stepping stone. And then once you get everybody into the Essentials, if they are regulated, then quickly get them up to the Advanced program, maybe in the next calendar year. But anyway, looking at the Essentials program, looking at screenshots of the costing calculator, there is a version of this costing calculator, again, in the handout section, the Excel spreadsheet that you can download and use. If you have taken this boot camp before, you may want to download this version of the costing calculator because it has been updated with all the new pricing that we've had. So yeah, I would download this one and maybe chuck the other one. But before starting, any security exercise, a pricing exercise, just make sure you have all of your invoices and your contracts in front of you so you know what all your software licensing costs are. So looking at the costing calculator, we're starting, there's 3 tabs. We're starting in the line card tab, and then we'll get into the selections tab, and then we'll get into the quote tab. So with the line card tab, this is where we want to input, kind of all of our individual prices for all of our individual products that are going to go into the Essentials program. At the top, we have the fully burdened labor cost there. I put in $50, but you would put in whatever your fully burdened labor rate is. Again, if you happen not to know that, I'm sure your bookkeeper, I'm sure your accountant will be able to kind of work this through for you. But for our exercise, I put in $50. Also, it doesn't matter where in the world you are listening to me, just put in your local currency, and then everything will get spit out in your local currency, because again, it is more about the pricing theory, not so much about what is the specific price in your area. You'll also notice in this calculator that some cells are gray, other cells are white. All of the gray areas, this allows you to do a direct input. So you can change the headers for the names of the programs. You can change, any of the ones along the top, whatever you'd like them to be. Anything that is white, those are areas with formulas. They get automatically calculated based on the direct inputs. So these are locked and they can't be modified. Okay. So 3 parts of the calculator that we're going to talk about. The first is our software costs. And so, as I said, this is where we put in all of the per device, per user costs for all the technology tool sets that are going to be used to deliver your Essentials program. Then we have the monthly management time. This is all the budgeted labor that we need to build into the program. This is based on your average labor rate. There's 3 buckets of labor that we're going to be talking about today. We have our preventative maintenance, we have our remediation, which is kind of that reactive, unexpected time that we need to consider, and then we have some consulting time that we're building in as well. Then we have the other costs. And this can be used for, maybe some hardware items that you have to build in or you need to deliver your program. And really, I'm thinking here, like from a security perspective, if you use Barracuda and there's a Barracuda device that you have to install to deliver a service as part of your Essentials program, the amortized cost gets added there. Or maybe you're a Datto backup MSP and there's a device that needs to be used for that. You can put the backup appliance, the amortized cost in there as well. And again, everything that I'm going to be talking about right now, we're talking on it from a per device standpoint, but please keep in mind we're only doing that for this exercise. Any outward customer communication, we will translate that into a per user price, and I'll show you how we do that later. So looking at back at the software cost sections. So again, this is all of the costs of all the different pieces of software from our tech stack that we are going to be needing to implement to deliver our Essentials program. You can see in column B that we can name the programs whatever we want. The calculator allows you to build pricing for up to 4 different programs. The cells aren't locked, so you can name the programs whatever you want, but you can see that I've named the programs the Essentials security program, and then you can see in yellow the Advanced security program. But just focusing on the Essentials security program right now. So in the agent column, this is the cost of your RMM licensing, whether you're an Insight user, whether you're an N-central user, or maybe you're an MSP that uses another RMM and you're just dropping in to listen to me today. Whatever RMM you're using, that's the cost that you put in there. And you're going to add it in, again, if you're an N-central user or an Insight user, every server, every network piece, every workstation requires an agent. So you can see that I have an agent cost associated with each of those devices. Also for the proactive workstation line, if you happen to want to include an M365 license user cost, you can factor that in as well. I haven't, I've just put in the cost of the RMM license, but if you wanted to bundle in, because I've seen some partners do that, your M365 business user license cost, you can do that as well. Next door to that, you see the EDR/MDR plus other security tool sets column. So this is where we're going to include the cost of the SentinelOne. We are a SentinelOne reseller. The SentinelOne complete license with their Vigilance add-on. And we're going to put that in for the proactive server and the proactive desktop. But again, if you're using another EDR product, just put in the cost of that EDR product. You'll also see that I've kind of had to double up and kind of squish a few features together. That is just for lack of space. This is a locked down calculator, but I'm sure anybody that, and I don't have the password to give you, but I've been told from other MSPs that it's very easy. They're good at Excel, so they can just go and add in some extra columns if you wanted some more space. If you break the formulas, I am not an Excel user. I will not be able to help you. But there's a lot smarter people than I am when it comes to that. So you will see that I've had to kind of double up. And this is one of those areas where I kind of had to double up on the EDR, the MDR, just for space. Next door to that, you'll see the risk assessment vulnerability management column. This is where you would add in the licensing cost of whatever your preferred solution here that you're going to be using at the Essentials program level to deliver your quarterly risk assessments. I have 0 here because I don't have a tool to sell you here at N-able, so I don't have cost to put in there. But so it is a feature of the program. So you would put in whatever the costs are for your risk assessment toolkit in that line. Again, I just don't have any to sell you. I wish I did, or else I would have put the cost in there as well. Next door to that, we have the backup M365 backup column. So this is where you would add in the cost of your backup, whatever product that you happen to be using, because backup should be included even at the Essentials level. I've had a lot of conversations over the years where partners will tell me, well, backup's, an add-on, backup is extra, because one, they want to try and bring the cost down, or they'll say, well, they already have a backup product in, and so I can't standardize them over to what I'm using. And that is not a good best practice. That's how you get 5, 7 different backup products, because you're allowing and adopting whatever backup program, you're inheriting whatever backup program they have in place. The best practice is to standardize them over to whatever backup that you're using, and then build that into the cost of the program. So for this, this is based on our Cove backup. There's a question that came in, how did I get the backup pricing? This is based on our Cove data protection product. So $39 to back up the server. And then for the proactive workstation, this is your M365 backup license. So we're backing up OneDrive, SharePoint, Teams, or email, along with backing up the desktop, but just the critical documents on the desktop. And we actually, with our Cove product, have a license that's called Documents, and it's $1. And I think it's $1.10. But what it does, it just backs up your Word documents, your Excel, your PDFs, and your PowerPoints, those critical documents. And the reason why I'm including the documents at this level, even though I have the M365 backup and license included in here, is as much as you tell your end users to get everything into OneDrive, it's on the laptop. They are saving things to their desktop. I'm guilty of that. I know a lot of people are guilty of that. Not everything that I do gets automatically put into OneDrive. So this is just kind of that, for $1, extra insurance, so that if something does happen, I have those critical documents. I can get those back because we put the documents license on it. I'm also assuming with the server license cost there that you are part of our, I think it's like a $200 per month that gets you the lower price, as well as some other benefits. So I'm assuming that you're in that program as well. Any questions around Cove, our pricing, just reach out to your PSM, and they will be able to get you in touch with one of our backup specialists to kind of help you with that. Next door to that, we have our mail, or we have Cloud Commander, but next door to that is our mail protection and our archiving. This is where you would put in the cost of whatever you're using from an email security standpoint. We have MailAssure, so I'm putting in the $10 cost there. And then next door to that, we have the web protection DNS URL filtering column. This is where you would add in the cost of whatever web protection software that you're using. So again, here we have DNS filter. I'm putting in the cost of DNS filter there. And then lastly, password management, 2FA. I'm just put in the cost of our Site license. So it's our Passportal product. We have a license called Site, and that basically provides a vault for your end users to help manage their passwords. So once you've added in all of your software costs, we get our total costs for server, network device, and workstation. One other point that I want to say about your software costs is, if you have some fantastic rates from your vendor, don't put your discounted rates in there. Put in whatever the MSRP pricing is instead. And the reason I say this is, if for some reason you need to reduce your licenses, that is naturally, probably, likely going to forfeit any vendor discounts that you may have received, right? You have these vendor discounts because you gave your vendor a high volume of licensing. But if you go and start reducing your licensing, I don't think it's out of the norm for your vendor to come back and say, okay, well, I need to raise your prices because you're reducing your volume. So when you're doing this, if you're putting in your MSRP pricing, so the highest unit cost for the smallest unit amount, then if you do have to go and change your volume levels, it's not going to eat into your margins. And I really look at it with your vendor discounts. It is going to overinflate your contract margins, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I'd rather err and on the side of being conservative, so that if there is any changes to my licensing, we're not going to be as negatively affected by it. Now, looking at the monthly management time, this is all in minutes. And so there's 3 buckets of labor that we need to take into account. So first is our preventative maintenance column. So this is just all of that routine maintenance that has to get done every month, every week, every day on the servers, all the network pieces, and all the workstations that are being covered by the program. And so the averages that you're seeing there, the 45, the 15, and the 7, That's just what partners have kind of told us on average over the years, but this may change depending on the type of MSP that you are. Like if you are a highly automated MSP where you've automated 80–90% of your services out of your RMM, then your preventative maintenance might not be as high. You might be able to reduce some of that. But if you are an MSP that hasn't really done such a great job with automation, you're doing a lot of this work manually, then you might need to increase those numbers. Like maybe you need to make it a 60 minutes per server and 10 minutes per workstation because you're doing things, all these checks, all this work manually. So this is an area where if you have to build in a higher number of minutes, maybe look at what you can do from a technology standpoint within your RMM. Where can you leverage automation to try and reduce these numbers for you? The remediation column, column M, this is for all of that unexpected reactive work that you can't budget, you can't predict. So it's all of your help desk calls, emergency support, email, chat, vendor management, all of those things that happen to come up that you need to build in time for. Now with the Essentials program, we haven't really built in any time. All of those help desk calls, emergency support, vendor management, chat, emails, all of that is outside of the scope of the program and it's billed additionally. We've had partners, kind of sell a block and pull it off the block. You'll see though, for the Essentials program, I did build in a few minutes at the server and the workstation level, but that's just to account for the S1 vigilance, the Sentinel-1 vigilance that we've built in. The Sentinel-1 vigilance team, they're going to handle the alerts. They're going to do some automatic SOAR responses. But if there's any additional work that has to be done to get the customer back, back to business type of thing, like if you have to re-image a machine or if you have to go in and change passwords, the vigilance team's not going to do that. But what they will do is give you their recommendations, and then you have to go and do the work. So I've built in, that's what the 10 minutes and 3 minutes is for. That is your time to carry out any of the recommendations that may be needed from the vigilance team. So I'm just factoring in time for that. But other than that, everything else is out of scope and is billable. And these times, again, are just estimates. So I definitely recommend that, you are tracking all of this time so that if we need to make changes, maybe in the next go around or the next renewal cycle, you can put in more accurate labor costs so that we can price this out accordingly. Then we have our consulting time. And so this is where we have to build in time to do our assessments. This is where we have to build in time to deliver our security training and where we have to build in time to handle our regular executive reviews. So for the Essentials program, we are doing a quarterly risk assessment. So we need to build in time to run the scan, look at the reports, maybe make some deductions from it, so that when we do our sit-down meetings with the business owner, we can incorporate that information in. Basic security training. This is where I'm just kind of thinking, you have the knowledge to maybe give 2 one-hour training sessions a year on, what to look for, phishing attempt, what to look for in your email. What are some key giveaways or red flags? So this would be something that you would deliver yourself. Nothing to say that if you are breach secure now or you're no before, you can put those costs in even at this level and incorporate those in. And then also making sure that you're building in time for, in this case, semi-annual executive reviews. This is where I'm thinking you're going to sit down with your customer twice a year. Probably will take you 5 hours in total each time. So I've built in 10 hours for the course of the year. But then when you break it down on a monthly basis, it comes down to 10 minutes a month that we're building in. But again, we want to build that time in that we're going to have those conversations. Yes, they are sales conversations, but we want to make sure that we're building in that time, that prep work in the actual meeting for that. So then after we do that, column R gives us our total costs. This is our software costs, our labor costs added together. That then column S is where we start to add in our price per device. And this is where, and you'll notice it's gray, we can play around with the price so that we can get the desired margin that we want. So the margin goal is white, so we can't change it, but this is where we can play around with the price to get the desired margin. And so you can see, kind of going back to the values from our business transformation, our best-in-class MSPs are getting 62% margin in their programs. So you can see that kind of had to play around with the pricing for each of those different devices to get to the 62%. But these are not prices that gets quoted to the customer. These are internal calculations only so that we can give a per user price. So although I'm showing server and backup is $254 a month, and network is $39 a month, and desktop is $66 a month, we don't use those, we don't quote that to the client. It's just what's needed so that we can set and reach our 62% overall margin for ourselves. And you'll see that will make more sense when we get to the quote tab. So once we kind of get everything into the line card, we get all of our costs in, we get all of our labor costs in, our time. Now we go to this tab to start figuring out, well, I actually have a customer that I need to quote the Essentials program to. So in this example, we have a 20 user organization. They have one firewall and a couple of servers. So you'll see the blue section there where I've entered in 20 workstations, one network, one server. And then where it says quarterly risk assessment, basic security training, and semi-annual executive review, I just put one. And what that basically does is just turn on those features so that that time and those costs get rolled in and incorporated into the overall cost. So you're going to use this tab a lot because you're going to use it on an individual customer basis. Then we go into the quote tab, and you'll see along the top in the heading, you don't need to fill out this part because this is an internal tool. I do not want anybody pulling this up in front of a client. This is something that you use back in the office for your quoting. You then just take that price that this calculator spits out, and then you put that into whatever sales proposal you have. So for this particular, you'll see for our 20 user organization that has a firewall and a couple of servers, we get a monthly price of $2,043. You can see that we are maintaining our 62% contract margin. That was our goal. Now we just have to do a little bit of manual math here, napkin math, but when we take our 2043 divided by 20 users, we get a price of $102.15 per user for this Essentials program. But a couple of caveats. This isn't the complete end user pricing that you're going to quote. It actually will be a little bit higher. I think this program should probably be around 125, 135, because we're missing some products here. This is based on our Enable products, our MSRP pricing without any discounts. So it's at our highest tier. So again, if you're using different products, if your tech stack looks differently, then that's going to change things up. I'm also missing some key software licensing around whatever you're happening to using from an assessment toolkit perspective. If there's any 2FA fees, if there's any security training fees, if you decide to use a company for that, M365 user license costs, if you decide to incorporate that. So that's going to raise the software licensing costs of this part of the calculator. It also doesn't include any of that reactive labor like I told you about earlier, except for the SentinelOne vigilance stuff. But there's no other help desk costs, emergency costs, vendor management, none of that, because this isn't an all-inclusive type of program. There's still going to be that separate bill that you're going to send. So really any customer in this program is going to get, either two bills or two line items. They're going to get the $125 per user per month that you're going to charge, and then whatever that reactive support, help desk calls, emergency support, emails, chat, all that time as well. But hopefully, because this is a proactive program where you are including device maintenance on a regular basis, those reactive help desk type of calls it should be minimized because you're being proactive and doing the necessary maintenance work on their network each month. And then again, we want to make sure that we are pricing it on a per user basis. Even though we're costing it per device, that's not how we want to position it. So as I said, probably for a program like the Essentials, $125, $135 would be, I think would be a more appropriate price for that.